welcome to MadeMill. My name is Janet Gulford. I'm the CEO of Prototype D, and today we're here at my Byward office, and I'm going to do a quick tutorial to give you an overview of how people develop websites in HTML and how to set up your PC as a development server, and then create a very cool website and then move it into the cloud so it's available on the internet. And these are 5 key steps in developing a website that we will break down into more detail in a future set of tutorials. This is just intended as an introduction to let you know what some of the technologies are that we use at MadeMill and how you can take advantage of it for your business as well. So first and foremost, I'm screen capturing today using Cam Studio. So you can follow along, you can see exactly what I'm doing on my PC. And of course, if you have any questions about any of the steps, please leave a comment in our comment section on YouTube, or feel free to contact us on social media and hit us up to see if there's anything you want to know. So right now, what you're looking at is our new MadeMill.com website. And for this, we went with a very clean look, and we use something called a Bootstrap Framework. So what Bootstrap is if you go to getbootstrap.com, you'll see Bootstrap is the most popular HTML, which is your code, CSS, which is your style, and JavaScript, which is your tools that you add onto it, your functionality on a page, framework. And what that means is rather than starting a website development from scratch where you're entering your very first code, a framework comes with a lot of pre-constructed code elements that you can then use as building blocks to build your entire website. So Bootstrap is a great framework because not only does it provide a very logical way to work through code that even very beginner developers can use, it's totally responsive. So anything that you develop as a website, you can further use as a mobile application or a mobile website. So it'll work on a smartphone or a tablet. And it works across all devices as well. So it'll look the same on an Android or an Apple device and so forth. So with Bootstrap, you can get into it. That they have the very basic framework there. There's a lot of other websites, including startbootstrap.com, that show you that give you free themes as well to get started. So right off the get-go, when you go to Start Bootstrap, you can find this creative theme, for example. It's totally free to use, it's free to download, and it gives you a live preview. And on this website, you'll see that you have certain sections talking about the business. There's built-in galleries that look great, and then there's footer areas. There's a bit of animation, so you saw that the icons appeared as we scroll down. And I just want to show you here is that it's also responsive as well. So if you had it minimized down onto a phone, you could see that this is how it would look, and it would still continue to respond very well, and it would look great on any mobile device. And the reason, one of the key reasons to use Bootstrap over really anything else, including WordPress or Drupal or any of the more kind of robust web development frameworks, is the websites you make using Bootstrap are very, very fast. Typically, the code is compressed, it's very clean, and you can develop websites that load in well under a second and that have a lot of, you can put a lot of content in there without really slowing it down. And WordPress sites, for example, are known to be very slow, and the benefit is this is maximum customization. It's very, very fast, and because it's a logical framework, it's really, really easy for new developers to get into it. And so yeah, so here, if we go and we click download, we can actually start to work with this. We can download this theme. It downloads, it's only 1.6 megabytes, the whole theme here. And what's cool about that is you can quickly go and you can create yourself a new project and call it Bootstrap. Open that up. And you can unpack one of these themes, and it has everything you need. Literally, if you were to move that onto a website right now, you would be able to launch that identical website, and you could go in and start to customize it. So that is really fast, convenient, and above all, it's free and it's great for beginners. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to quickly walk you through a couple of other tools that you would use if you wanted to develop your own website. So one of the tools in terms of editing, a lot of people in the past they've used tools like Dreamweaver. A lot of people would use Notepad if you wanted to edit the code. One tool that I use all the time and many developers use is something called Notepad++. So what it is, it's a set of, it's a very simple kind of text editor. It's also free as well to use, and I think it's also open source, yeah. It has support for several languages. So unlike Notepad, which is very kind of, there aren't very many features there, Notepad++ is a great tool for editing. It really helps you out seeing your code, understanding it. It has a lot of built-in libraries as well, so if you want helpful tips while you're programming or you're typing things, Notepad++ recognizes the language that you're trying to develop in and quickly responds and shows it to you in the right format. So I use Notepad++, and it's a great environment. So as we go through some of these tutorials, you'll see me using Notepad++. I really recommend that you download that. Again, keeping to the theme of free, it's another free and an amazingly helpful tool. So I've just pulled up the main website here, the main code for that Bootstrap template that we just saw. And right away you can see how Notepad++, it shows you your links, it shows you your different code elements, it shows you your comments, and they're very, very easy to read. They're very logically laid out, and you can quickly recognize what you're doing much faster than if you're using just Notepad. And so within Notepad++, this is where you would edit the code, and we're going to have a few workshops specifically around developing websites using that. And when you're doing your development, there's a few ways you can see what your programming is looking like. You can usually just preview it if you want to right-click and say open with, say, Google Chrome, for example. That will give you a quick preview of what your website's going to look like before it loads up online. And so that's really brilliant for anything that you want to do with HTML and CSS. It's a great way to quickly preview that. But if you want to do a more sophisticated website that has things like JavaScript that we'll also get into, you would look to set yourself up a local hosting environment on your PC. So a lot of people think about a website host, a server, as something kind of in the cloud, far away. And most people don't realize that any PC that you have, any laptop or computer, will work perfectly fine to host, locally host your entire website. And why this is great is you can develop every single aspect of your code. You can set up a local database. You can set up local JavaScript tools, and you can develop your entire code offline and locally on your computer, which is a great. It's free. It's a great time saver, and it's a great productivity method as well. And in order to do that, there's another free program. You're going to catch a theme through these videos. I'm going to keep telling you all the free tools because I'm really big on getting people to take advantage of the resources that are there without spending $1, because there's a lot you can do. I'm going to bring you to XAMPP. So XAMPP is, again, the most popular PHP development environment. And if you're not familiar with what PHP is, it's a programming language that runs all of the back-end transactions on a website. So for example, if you have a website, maybe it's a contact form, you have a map there, you have some fields that you fill out. When you click submit, the client, which is the front end, which is what you see, transmits data onto the server, which is the back end. That's the secure environment where it can process that data, it can save it, it can put it into an email, it can put it into a database. And that server environment is secured, so you can't access the code there from your browser. And that client and server relationship are incredibly key to how the whole internet works. So if you go to a website YouTube, for example, you'll pop up and they'll say recommended videos, and that's all fed to the client side dynamically from the server. So it's based on who you are, it's based on your user account, and it feeds all that data to the server. It's on the client side. When you type in, I want to see Innovation Pod video or a MadeMill video into the search bar, that goes to the server side, and then all of that high-speed processing happens on the back end. So with XAMPP, what that means is you can do all of those things locally on your own PC. You can build both the client side and the server, and you can build yourself a complete web solution without spending any dollars, without having a cloud hosting environment, and you can test and develop everything you need to do a really robust website right from your desktop. So XAMPP is a brilliant tool. Using this installer from apachefriends.org, you can download XAMPP for Windows, Linux, or Mac, and it will install on your desktop. And then once it's installed, you can go to XAMPP control panel, and very quickly you can create a server here. So I'll show you how easy it is to create a server. I've just created an Apache server for my computer. That means I can do any kind of development using a PHP or an Apache language like that. Right from my desktop. I don't need any internet. I'm good to go. And then the second thing I can do is I can create a database. A lot of people don't really understand what a database is, but most of you are familiar with, in the simplest terms, an Excel spreadsheet where you have a grid of data and you have tabs across the bottom. So databases are a little bit like that. There's a lot of sophisticated elements to a database, but for most websites, what you're looking at is just creating a very simple database to house perhaps customer data or products or videos or something like that. With XAMPP, you can create a very standard kind of database called a MySQL database. And just by clicking Start on XAMPP, it also created that database locally. And so this is a really brilliant tool because, again, we now have a website framework with Bootstrap. We now have an Apache server to run all of our transactions, and now we have a MySQL database where we can build all of the custom data elements that are going to make your website or your online store really, really powerful. And we've done all of that in just a couple of minutes, and it hasn't cost you any money. And so from there, what we would use is we would go into Notepad++. We'd start to customize this. We'd start to design what we need onto our own website by using that Bootstrap framework. So for example, if I wanted to change this, your favorite source for free Bootstrap themes, I can just find that right there and say, welcome to MadeMill. And then save that, refresh it, and all of a sudden you can start customizing any element of this Bootstrap theme. So through using a template and doing some customizations, you can build your own website very, very easily. And we're going to have several more tutorials on more advanced elements, but this is to get you started. And then two other things I want to bring you in the loop on that you might not be familiar with. One is, the first is collaborating with other people. So entrepreneurial development is great, working on your local machine is great, but what you can also use is another free service called Github. And what Github is, it's an online document repository for your entire project. That lets you go create a project, it lets you edit it, do changes, and it creates a history to your project. So every change you make to the development of the website, right from the very beginning to the end, is all stored and backed up. And that's really, really important. But what it really also allows you to do is collaborate with other developers. So you can go to github.org. I think I have it open. Yeah, github.com, I should say, I apologize. And you can go and you can go sign up for your own GitHub account, and you can create free public repositories. So if you want to work with your team, or if you want to work with other developers around the world, they can go and they can clone your project. They can create different versions of it, and then they can merge their changes back in. So it's a truly collaborative way of developing code. And then, and so if your team is bigger than you, you can develop locally. You can upload all of your stuff to GitHub, where you can share it with your friends. and then you can work very collaboratively. So that's a really great tool. And then the final element that I want to bring to your attention is hosting what you create. So it's great, you've built a custom website, it's on your desktop, it's on your local server through XAMPP, everything's running and you're ready to launch it. So when you want to put something onto the public-facing web, of course, as you probably know, you need a domain name, so people would want to find you. So www.mademill.com, for example, or www.google.com. And of course, you can go out and you can use a variety of companies that will reserve that domain name. I'm not going to name any in particular. They all cost money. I do recommend that you shop around, because there are some that are more cheaper, some that are more expensive. And different domain hosts, you can host different endings, because everyone's familiar with .com, but there's also .team, like we are, Prototype D, pd.team. There's also .green, .eco is coming online. There's so many new endings to website domains. So think about what works for you. And so you do need to register a domain name. Typically it costs about $15 a year. And then you need to host it. And hosting is where a lot of people kind of get a little bit nervous, because they don't know what they need. They don't know what to set up. And it can be a little bit daunting. So there's again, many people you can host with. One of the ways that I recommend doing is, I will recommend this in this case, even though it's a paid service, is Microsoft Azure. So what Microsoft Azure is, it's a cloud hosting solution. So if you are anywhere from a very simple website all the way up to a really robust 1,000-user e-commerce site, it doesn't matter. You can host everything through Microsoft Azure. And they're very similar to other cloud platforms, including Google Cloud Platform, and also including Amazon. So Amazon has their own web service, I should say, as well. And I've experimented with a few of them. I still like Microsoft because they make the process really, really simple. And the way it works is, I'm not going to host a new site today, but when you create a Microsoft Azure account, you get free credits to start off. You can link whatever .com or custom website name into Microsoft Azure, and then you can go and quickly and easily create a link between Microsoft Azure and GitHub. And this is really cool. So when you're collaborating with your friends and you are making changes to your code, all you need to do is press, is actually upload your latest version of your program onto GitHub, and then Microsoft Azure will put it right on the web. So within a second or two of you finishing or hitting save on your new code, instantly your website is published. You don't need to use FTP, you don't need to deploy anything. It's all really, really simple. And so I love that Microsoft has made that integration with GitHub, because it makes publishing your progress very easy, and it lets your whole team of as many people as you want make a simple change to your code, hit publish, and it goes live on your website, which is really, really good, because then you can manage all of your roles. The one thing I would say is, if you're going to have GitHub hosting your website, I would upgrade my GitHub account, which is $7 a month, to make it a private repository. That way the public can't go out and just update your website for you. So that's a key point as well. So through this, we've talked about Bootstrap as a framework. We've talked about how to edit that website. We've talked about how to develop it locally, how to share it with friends in the cloud with GitHub, and finally how to publish it through Microsoft Azure. And this is the pathway that we use constantly at MadeMill. It's one of the fastest and most reliable means to deploy a website that we've come across. And other than the $7 a month subscription to GitHub, which is totally optional to you, or the Microsoft hosting, which is also very affordable for anywhere, typically a website would be around $10 a month to host, then you are ready to go. You're ready to develop your own vision for your store, customize it, and move it all into the cloud very, very quickly. So I hope that this has been a helpful set of steps for you, and it gives you some insight into how the MadeMill team puts together a website very rapidly for our clients, and how we're able to deploy and collaborate with a team across Canada or around the world. So thank you very much for watching. This has been a very introductory session. Follow along for some future videos on developing specifically coding JavaScript and HTML, doing some custom database work, data visualization, because we're going to be sharing these and other web-related tutorials as part of our MadeMill instructional series. Again, thank you very much, and I hope it's been helpful. MadeMill is sponsored in part by generous contributions by the FedDev Ontario program, the City of Ottawa, and the Government of Ontario.